How can you find the volume of a rectangular prism with fractional edge lengths? Think about this question during the lesson. What is the volume of the rectangular prism? Remember that the volume is the number of cubic units needed to fill a solid figure. Why can't you use 1-inch cubes to find the volume of the prism? What size cubes can be used to fill the prism? You can't use 1-inch cubes to find the volume of the prism because the edge lengths are not whole numbers. You can use cubes with 1/2-inch edge lengths to fill the prism. Step 1. Find the number of 1/2-inch cubes that will fill the rectangular prism. Five 1/2-inch cubes fit along each 2 1/2-inch edge of the prism. So the bottom layer has 5 times 5, or 25 cubes. The prism is 3 cubes high, so there are 25 times 3, or 75 cubes in the prism. Step 2. Find the volume of each smaller 1/2-inch cube by using it to fill a unit cube. There are 4 smaller cubes on the bottom layer of the unit cube, and the unit cube is 2 smaller cubes high. How many smaller cubes fill the unit cube?
Select your answer.
There are 4 times 2, or 8 smaller cubes in the unit cube, so each 1/2-inch cube has 1/8 the volume of a unit cube, or 1/8 times 1 cubic inch equals 1/8 of a cubic inch. Step 3. Find the volume of the prism. Multiply the volume of each 1/2-inch cube by the total number of cubes that fill the prism. The volume of the rectangular prism is 9 3/8 cubic inches. Use the correct units to describe area and volume. Now you know how you can find the volume of a rectangular prism with fractional edge lengths.
Find the volume of the rectangular prism built from 1/2-inch cubes.
The bottom layer has blank cubes. So let's look at the bottom layer. Here's our bottom layer here, right? All of these cubes in that layer. So we have to see, we have the prism is, let's see, how many cubes? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 this way. Then we have 1, 2, 3 that way. So the total number of cubes in that bottom layer would be 5 times 3, which is 15. The prism is blank cubes high. So let's see how many cubes high. So we have 1, 2, 3 cubes high. And then we have, there are a total of blank cubes in the prism. So 15 times 3 is 45. That gave us the total amount of all of the cubes of that prism. Now, each cube has a volume of blank inches cubed. So we know that each of these cubes there we go. Each one of these cubes is half an inch half an inch, half an inch based on the example before it. So we want to find the volume of each one of those cubes. We have to multiply, let me just write the formula real quick. Volume is equal to length times width times height. So we multiply those three numbers, 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2. So 1/2 times 1/2 times 1/2 is equal to 1/8 inches cubed. So the volume of one of those cubes is 1/8. So the volume of the prism would be the 45 cubes times the volume of one cube, which is 1/8, and multiply that together. 45 times 1/8. And that is equal 5 5/8. There we go. So the volume is 5 5/8 inches cubed. And now you see that little 3 there instead of the 2 that we would see with area, because now cubed is for three-dimensional shapes. So that's why it is cubed.
Sean bought the fish tank shown. What is the volume of Sean's fish tank?
Formula for volume is length times width times height. And so we use that. We have our length, width, height. They've substituted them all. And then we had to take the mixed numbers, make them improper fractions, and we made the whole number a fraction by putting it over 1, and then you multiply straight across. It's 40/9, but we want to make that improper fraction into a mixed number, simplifying it, and we get 4 4/9. So the volume of the fish tank is 4 4/9 feet cubed.
Ada has a ring box in the shape of a rectangular prism. The box has a volume of 20 5/16 cubic inches. What is the height of Ada's ring box?
Once again, we look at the formula. Volume equals length times width times height. We don't know the height, so now we have an unknown variable. So we do substitute the length, 2.5. I'm sorry. 2.5, and the width with 2.5 as well, and the height we don't know. The volume we do know, and that is 20 5/16. So now we make all the mixed numbers into improper fractions, and then we multiply the 5/2. So that's 25/4. And then we know that when we are solving for an unknown variable in an equation, we have to remove the numbers on the side with the variable to the other side of the equation. So we're going to move the 25 fourths over to the other side by doing the inverse of multiplication, which is the opposite. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide 325/16 by 25/4. And when we find that, we will get our height, and that's 13/4. And I skipped a part. Because we're dividing fractions, we do have to do keep, change, reciprocal. So we keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, and find the reciprocal, which is 4/25. Then multiply straight across, and you get 13/4. And then you have to change or simplify that, and you get 3 1/4. So the height of the box is 3 1/4 inches. Now let's look at our try it. We have volume is equal to length times width times height. Our volume is 40 32 hundredths is equal to the length we don't know. The width is 3 2 tenths, and the height is 4 5 tenths. Now we have to multiply. And we're going to multiply the 3 and 2/10 times the 4 and 5/10. That's going to give us 14 and 4/10. And that's going to be multiplied to the length. Still going to equal 40 and 32/100. Now we want to solve for the length. So we have to remove or move over the term, this 14 and 4/10, to the other side of the equation by doing the inverse of this operation, which is multiplication. So the inverse is division. So we're going to, I'm going to write it up here because I don't have space down there. Divide 40 and 32/100 by 14 and 4/10. So that will give us the value of the length, and that is 2 and 8/10. So the length of this cube, or rectangular prism rather, is 2/8 centimeters. Okay? Alright, now let's solve B. We have, again, volume is equal to length times width times height. And this is a cube, so we do have all the same measurements here. So 4 and a half times 4 and a half times 4 and a half. We could, in this instance, because it is a cube, we could just do 4 and a half cubed, put parentheses around it. Okay, we could also do that. That means the same thing as 4 and a half times 4 and a half times 4 and a half. So now let's do that. So 4 and a half. If you're using a calculator, 4 and a half needs to be a decimal. So 4 and a half, we know half, thinking half of a dollar, right? Half of a dollar is 50 cents. So the decimal for half would be 50, 0.50 or 0.5. And so 4.5 represents 4 and a half. So in your calculator, you could do 4.5 times 4.5 times 4.5. And then that will give us the value of 91 and 125 thousandths. But if let's say it was a multiple choice question and they were looking for a fraction answer, we could do this. We have to make these fractions into improper fractions. So we do 4 times 2 plus 1 is 9. So we have 9/2 for each one of these. And so then we multiply straight across. So 9 times 9 is 81. 2 times 2 is 4. So we have these two. Then we have 81 times 9 and 41 times 2. 729/8. 729 divided by 8 is 91. You do long division. That's 9. 72. Bring down the 9. Then that's 9. And then 8 goes into 9 once. And then you have 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. So then you have 91. Your remainder is 1. And your denominator is 8. So 91 and 1/8 feet cubed would be the fraction version of the 91 and 125 hundredths.